You wake up. Your body is burning. A fever takes hold of your muscles. Every movement is a monumental effort. You cannot walk. What happens to you now? You are entirely helpless. There are no hospitals. The year is not modern. It is 100,000 years in the past. Your survival is in jeopardy. Who will step forward to save you? Modern minds assume you will simply die. We are taught that prehistoric life was entirely ruthless. Nature is presented as a brutal arena. Only the physically perfect survive to see another day. You have been told that the weak were always abandoned to the elements. Is this actually true? Look closely at the bones. They tell a completely different story. The earth holds the quiet secrets of your ancestors. Your assumptions about prehistoric cruelty are about to be shattered completely. How did ancient people truly treat the sick? Imagine the landscape outside your shelter. The wind howls across a vast and unforgiving tundra. The Ice Age is not just a concept in a textbook. It is a daily physical reality that dictates every choice you make. Predators roam the periphery of your camp. Cave lions hunt in the tall grass. Dire wolves wait in the shadows of the tree line. The margin for error is absolutely non-existent. A twisted ankle can mean starvation. A deep cut can invite fatal infection. Every member of your small band must contribute to the collective survival of the tribe. Meat must be hunted. Roots must be gathered. Firewood must be collected before the sun disappears below the horizon. How can a group afford to carry dead weight? How can they waste precious calories on someone who cannot contribute to the daily harvest? The logic of pure survival suggests you should be left behind. But human logic is fundamentally different. Our ancestors possessed something no other animal had in such abundance. They had an extraordinary capacity for empathy. Let us travel to a deep cavern. It is called Shanidar Cave. It rests high in the rugged Zagros Mountains of modern Iraq. The journey to this place is treacherous. The air is thin and cold. This site holds the remains of Neanderthals. They lived and died here tens of thousands of years ago. A man was buried in the soft dirt of the cave floor. In the middle of the 20th century, an archaeologist named Ralph Seletsky arrived here. He spent years excavating this massive limestone shelter. He dug through meters of ancient ash and debris. He found a skeleton known today as Shanidar I. What makes this particular collection of bones so vital to your understanding of history? Shanidar I suffered massive, life-altering trauma. He sustained a crushing blow to his head. The impact was severe. It crushed the left side of his skull. This injury likely left him blind in one eye. It caused severe brain damage that altered his entire life. The right side of his body withered away. He lost his right arm, either through violent trauma or intentional surgical amputation. His legs were fractured. They healed poorly and painfully. He walked with a pronounced, dragging limp for decades. Could a man in this condition hunt or gather food? He could not survive alone. He could not run from predators. He could not carry heavy loads. He could not contribute physically to the daily demands of a nomadic hunting group. He was completely dependent on the goodwill of others. Yet his bones show that he lived to an advanced age. He survived well into his 40s or 50s. In the prehistoric world, this is a remarkably long life. How did he survive for so long in such a harsh environment? Someone fed him. Someone brought him water from the stream below the cave. Someone protected him from the harsh elements. Someone stood guard against wild animals while the rest of the group moved and hunted. He was kept alive by the deliberate, conscious care of his community. His people chewed his food for him when his teeth wore down to the roots. They guided him when his vision failed. Does this change how you view ancient humanity? This changes everything. It means that the defining characteristic of early humans was not their weaponry. It was not their ability to kill. It was their ability to heal. It was their profound emotional capacity to value a human life beyond its purely economic or physical utility. Caring for Shanidar I required immense sacrifice. It required able-bodied hunters to share their hard-won meat with a man who could never repay them in kind. It required patience. It required a deep, unspoken understanding that his life had intrinsic value. This is not an isolated incident. There is another site in Spain. It is called Cima de los Huesos. This translates to the pit of bones. The site is a deep, perilous shaft located inside the massive Atapuerca cave system. Getting to the bottom requires a dangerous descent through total darkness. Paleoanthropologist Juan Luis Arzuaga spent decades carefully examining this subterranean world. He and his team unearthed thousands of ancient human remains. They found the skull of a young child known as Cranium 14. Why is this child so significant to your medical history? The child suffered from a severe developmental condition. It is known today as craniosynostosis. This means the bones of the skull fused together prematurely. They fused before the brain had finished growing. This caused a severe facial deformity. It likely caused significant intellectual disability and motor impairment. A child with this condition required constant, intensive support from the moment of birth. Would a brutal, primitive society keep this child alive? The community did not abandon her. They nurtured her every single day. They carried her when she could not walk across the rough terrain. They held her close to keep her warm during the freezing nights. They ensured she remained safely within the warmth of the firelight. She lived for at least 5 to 10 years. In a world where calories were scarce, raising this child required a massive daily sacrifice. Why would ancient people invest so much energy into a life that offered no physical benefit to the tribe? Evolutionary anthropologist Penny Spikins at the University of York has studied this exact question. She argues that compassion was not a luxury for ancient humans. It was an essential survival strategy. Caring for the sick and injured forged deep social bonds. These bonds kept the entire group united and resilient against external threats. When you care for someone, you build profound trust. Trust is the absolute foundation of human cooperation. Your ancestors did not survive by being aggressively individualistic. They survived by becoming a cohesive, empathetic unit. Can you imagine the emotional depth of these ancient caregivers? Let us look at another example to cement this truth. In Italy, there is a site called Rometo Cave. Here, researchers found the remains of a teenager known as Rometo II. He lived during the Upper Paleolithic period, roughly 10,000 years ago. He suffered from a severe form of dwarfism. His arms and legs were exceptionally short. His spine was curved. He could not run fast or participate in the physically demanding hunts that characterized his culture. Yet he lived into late adolescence. He was buried with immense care and respect. He was placed in the arms of an older woman, perhaps his mother. His people valued him deeply. They shared their resources with him. They did this not out of obligation, but out of love. Let us recreate a day in your life when you are severely ill. You are lying on a bed of soft animal skins. The air in the shelter is cold and damp. A fire crackles nearby. It is carefully maintained by an older member of your group. They stay behind while the strong and healthy go out to hunt. You are shivering uncontrollably. Your chest aches with every single breath. You cannot lift your head to see the morning light. What is your medicine in this ancient world? Your medicine is not a synthesized pill. Your medicine is a warm herbal broth pressed gently to your cracked lips. Your medicine is the physical touch of a family member. They wipe the sweat from your forehead with cool water. They gather specific plants from the surrounding forest. They find willow bark. They know it contains a powerful compound that reduces pain and lowers your dangerous fever. They crush it and steep it in hot water over the flames. How did they learn this natural pharmacology? They learned through thousands of years of careful observation. They watched which plants sick animals instinctively ate. They experimented carefully over generations. They passed this critical knowledge down through stories and songs. They ensured that the remedies for sickness were never forgotten by the next generation. You are relying on a vast, invisible library of ancestral wisdom. Do you feel secure in their hands? You are surrounded by people who know your every breath. They know the sound of your cough. They recognize the specific hue of your pale skin. There is no anonymity in a hunter-gatherer tribe. You are not a patient in a bed. You are a vital thread in the social fabric of their existence. If you die, a part of their collective memory dies with you. Your survival is intimately tied to their psychological well-being. They will sit awake with you through the longest, darkest nights of the winter. They will sing softly to calm your fevered mind. They will share their last scrap of dried meat to give you strength. Now, consider a counterintuitive turning point in your human timeline. You might think that as time passed, things got easier. You might assume that when humans invented agriculture, health improved. You might assume that settling down in permanent villages made sickness easier to manage. The exact opposite is true. The invention of agriculture was a catastrophic trap for human health. Why did farming make your ancestors so sick? When you are a nomadic hunter-gatherer, you leave your waste behind. You do not live in close proximity to large herds of domesticated animals. Your population is small and widely dispersed across the landscape. This means diseases cannot spread rapidly from host to host. If a local environment becomes contaminated, you simply pack up your skins and move away. What happens when you build a permanent village? You begin living in your own filth. You live shoulder to shoulder with pigs, cows, and chickens. These animals carry dangerous viruses and bacteria. They carry pathogens that inevitably jump the species barrier to infect humans. This creates devastating new illnesses that your immune system has never encountered. You are now crowded together in large numbers. You drink from the same stationary water source every single day. Your waste accumulates in the same soil where you grow your food. Is this not the perfect recipe for a massive epidemic? Epidemics are a relatively modern invention. Cholera, smallpox, and tuberculosis did not exist in the deep prehistoric past. They are the direct result of human civilization. By settling down and building cities, humans traded the excellent physical health of the nomadic lifestyle for the supposed security of permanent walls. The diet shifted radically. It went from a diverse array of wild meats and fresh plants to a monotonous reliance on a single grain crop. This led to widespread malnutrition and stunted physical growth. The bones of early farmers show terrible signs of disease, decay, and nutritional deficiency. Their teeth were riddled with cavities from the high-carbohydrate diets. Their joints were worn down from the backbreaking labor of tending fields. They suffered from rampant infections that swept through their crowded, unsanitary settlements. The irony is absolutely staggering. The very civilization that built the first hospitals is the exact same civilization that created the plagues those hospitals are meant to treat. We created the biological problem that we are now constantly trying to solve. Have you ever considered that progress comes with such a heavy biological price? Think about your life today in the modern world. When you fall ill, you go to a sterile, brightly lit room. You speak to a doctor you barely know. You describe your symptoms in a brief, rushed consultation. You are given chemical compounds synthesized in a distant laboratory. The process is highly efficient and undeniably effective at keeping you alive. What have you lost in this modern transaction? You have lost the profound intimacy of prehistoric care. We view medicine today as a sterile transaction. It is a science of fixing broken biological machines. For your ancestors, medicine was a deeply emotional and social commitment. It was an expression of love and solidarity within the group. The first true medical intervention in human history was not a splint. It was not a carved stone scalpel. It was simply the decision to stay behind. It was the choice to stop moving. It was the absolute commitment to sit by the fire and help someone who could not help themselves. When was the last time you experienced that pure, undivided attention? We have gained unimaginable technology, but we have outsourced our care to strangers. We have forgotten the healing power of simply being present with those who suffer. We have forgotten that our species survived not because we were the strongest, but because we were the kindest. Our ancestors faced a brutal world, but they faced it together. They carried each other through the long, freezing nights of the Pleistocene. They looked at a broken limb or a fevered brow and saw not a liability, but a family member in need. You wake up. A fever has broken in the quiet dark of the cave. You can walk again. You look around the fire at the faces of the people who refused to let you die, realizing that humanity itself was born in the exact moment you first chose to care for the sick.